Hello guys from Plant Reviews. Today is the 19th of May in Kent, so mid-spring, going to be late spring soon. From 1 or 2 days I have some Dutch irises in bloom, the so-called Iris cross hollandica. These irises are quite common as cut flowers, and also common enough in gardens, even if not as common as their relatives that you can see here, the bearded irises. Iris cross hollandica is an iris that, as you can see, has no beards on the falls, and the color varies according obviously to the different varieties. This is not a species, indeed it's an artificial hybrid derived from three species, actually two species and one species with two different varieties. That is the Iris tingintana from North Africa, and it was crossed with the Iris xiphium, varietas praecox from Spain, and also with another Iris xiphium, varietas lusitanica from Portugal. This cross was carried out by the firm Van Tubergen in the 19th century in the Netherlands. These flowers are very popular as cut flowers because the bulbs can be forced in the greenhouses to flower basically early and almost any time of the year, and therefore they become quite a staple in a bouquet. After the 1900, these other species also were introduced in the crosses to widen the range of colors available. The most common color is blue. However, as you can see here with the yellow center on the falls, however, there are also quite a few other colors. There are white, yellow, copper red, reddish with blue. So it is a nice range of varieties and colors, even if not as wide as the bearded iris, the Iris cross germanica. The German iris indeed. This iris, unlike the bearded, is a bulbous iris, and bulbs can be purchased in autumn. I bought this autumn about 40 bulbs. Unfortunately, at the moment I have only 2 in bloom. I couldn't find any other unbloomed plant, possibly because, as you can see in the rest of the garden, the tulips and the daffodils leaves basically kind of fell over on each other, so I'm a bit worried that I will have some Dutch irises growing horizontally rather than vertically. Instead, here they are at the side of the border, so they were able to grow quite easily in height, also well supported by the lavender at the bottom. These irises, like I would say all irises, love full sun, and like many kind of irises, love well drained soil. The bulbs purchased in autumn, they will start sprouting in late winter, early spring, and they will bloom between late May and early June. The height is about 60-70 centimeters according to the different varieties, and the leaves are cylindrical. They are not sword like the bearded irises, as you can see, but the leaves instead are cylindrical. This is a leaf of the Dutch iris. Unfortunately, the Dutch iris doesn't have any fragrance, and that's a really pity because it's such a beautiful flower. While instead the German irises most of the times are also very beautifully fragrant, with also some of them a very intense fragrance. However, the flower is probably even more elegant than the German iris. Even the ruffled varieties sometimes are a bit kind of messy. They can be ruined quite easily by wind and rain. Instead, I would say that the Dutch iris flower is much stronger against bad weather. However, this year luckily we had full sun almost every day of the spring, so really the blooms of the most of the plants that I had this spring really were perfect. About this iris, in addition to be a wonderful addition to a garden, as you can see, it is really nice for the strong color against the green foliage and against the many other different colors of flowers I have in the garden. It is a plant that ideally need some kind of support from the nearby vegetation. As you can see, I have quite a few weeds, and considering the plant is quite tall and slender, actually, even if surrounded by weeds, the weeds are able to protect against this plant against strong winds. That is a very important feature. Indeed, the stems, in case of strong winds, obviously can break or anyway fall over on the ground, as the tallest the iris, the more likely it is, as you can see, in comparison to these two bearded irises that basically are hold their flowers diagonally rather than vertically, unfortunately. While here I have more weeds, and indeed you can see at the back of the Dutch iris I have beautiful German iris in bud at the moment. About the kind of soil, these are very adaptable plants. Really, they don't bother with different types of soil, as long as I said it is well drained and in full sun. But anyway, they can tolerate partial shade. Definitely it is a beautiful plant to get in the garden. The blooms can last quite a few days, both as cut flowers as in the garden, and they're also great in a pot as well. So there's many different uses you can do of the Dutch irises. Also in autumn, many times several bags of Dutch irises are left in shops, and they quite often end up for sale 25 to 50% or 75%. So if you are not sure if you get Dutch irises or not, I would recommend wait until the sales, the bulb sales, and you will get very likely the chance to have a few bulbs at a much lower price than early in autumn. But if you really would like these varieties of flowers, I would rather recommend instead buy them as soon as possible, because especially particular colors can run out quite easily. The blue is probably the most common one. I bought these ones in particular at B&Q at a very good price. They were, I think, 50 or 60% discount, while other sellers of Dutch irises that you can find in garden centers are Taylor's, and obviously you find in Dobbies, Longacres, and many chains of garden centers. And again, this is one of the irises most readily available online as well. And the nice thing, if you buy bulbs online, that if you can get also varieties of Dutch irises that are a bit rarer, so they are not very easy to get hold of. Again, I really, even if the German irises are much more common, I would recommend to give a go to these beautiful irises, because they are a very elegant flower. Very elegant flowers. They come in a wide, in a really great variety of colors, and they can really add a nice touch of elegance to any garden, especially if you have fragrant plants as well, so you can compensate with the fragrance from other plants the unfortunate lack of fragrance from this beautiful iris. I hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully I will see you next time. And if you would like to get feedbacks on my next videos when they are published, it would be great if you can subscribe. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.